Okay. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear us. This is Dr. Giriraj Amarnath. Let's give a minute or so. I see people are getting added. Yeah, good morning again, everyone. Calling from Stockholm as part of the Stockholm World Water Week. And this is an important session being organized by various partners, which we will delve on the importance of early warning, anticipatory action, and locally led adaptation. And I'm very glad to be here. Excellent speakers, the panelists, and also the moderation is done by the UN Combat Desertification group from the Dr. Daniel. And before I go much more detail about that, thank you for all the participants joining online. And let me start sharing the screen before I go into much more detail about the focus of this session. Mhm. Can you confirm you are able to see the screen?
Not yet. Oh yeah.
Yes, right.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, as I said, that this is a intersection between the understanding on how early warning, anticipatory action, and local are critically important to when we talk about resilience building at a community level. And while we know that each of those components are led by various institutions, and the purpose of this session is to draw upon best practices and the lessons we learn from those countries, specifically the country of Sri Lanka and Zambia. And we have excellent panelists coming from the region, that is from the Ministry of Agriculture from Zambia, Disaster Management Center, Meteorological Department, as well as from the civil societies from the Red Cross Institution. And I also would like to say hello. My colleague from Carol, Meva, is also part of the program of Climate Resilience Initiative. And we are supported by the two or three major initiatives called Climate Resilience Initiative, ICRA, Accelerating Impact CGR Climate Research for Africa, and also the support from the Helmsley Foundation for elevating this important piece of work in the region. So, what our plan is to have a detailed focused presentation, which how we frame this important narrative of interconnectedness between the early warning system, anticipatory action, and locally led adaptation. And the purpose is that, as I keep saying, that we can have a good warning information from technical institution unless these are not locally implemented in terms of what actions need to be done by the relevant parties in the provincial government or at the district level. And also, often we speak with the communities in terms of solving problems to landslide, floods, drought, or dry spell. A lot of cascaded risk is there. But then, how do you bring a collective action from the top down and as well as bottom up? That really looks at how we empower communities so that they are not just looked at reactive approaches to drought or the flood, but ensuring that these communities are better protect in the years to come and building a more long lasting resilient strategies and transforming their livelihood going forward. And so with that, I just want to make sure that the key focus of our presentation is to highlight two major innovations we brought into both the region, in addition to other countries we are working like Senegal, Morocco, Guatemala, and many other regions like Kenya, etc. So how we are bringing this implementation of anticipatory action and how we pre-position resources. That's where we have Disaster Management Center from Sri Lanka would also highlight, and the significance of locally led adaptation in tailoring those solutions to the the environmental context. And you will see some of the examples how communities can be empowered, that you would also hear from Vina from Red Cross as well as from Carol Miwa from the institutions coming from Zambia. So while I just want to highlight this particular impact, yes, all the countries are regularly affected by various impact. And this is just fresh from our mind of the El Nino impact from 2024 begin in last November. And we have three experts coming from Zambia who would also share some of the challenges. I was told even there is only 5 hours of power available in the region due to drought. So, and we are also seeing that how inflations are going to be or already impacted the rising food prices, and the government have already declared the drought. So, what can we learn from these challenges? And the one way to look at is proactive drought risk management or disaster risk management strategy or the need of the hour. It does not mean that we do not have a risk management strategy exist in the country. How do we cope up to the climate change current impact, the severities of the scale of disasters we have? And that's where the rest of my presentation would highlight on that. So, what we are going to highlight quickly on the early warning, assuming that most of the speakers know what is early warning. Early warnings are basically built on a computer models using atmospheric data, and that's where our colleague from the Sri Lanka Met Department would provide more perception around that, how it can be built, how you can improve the accuracy of the product. The focus is not about delving into more about the how we develop early warning knowledge product, but how it can be utilized for early action plan. So we have these knowledge products are available. You can take a look through our QR code or Google search. So we have better understanding on when the rain is going to come, how much rising temperature is going to look for the next couple of weeks, and what drought prediction, this is where the hydrological model comes into, and then what the monitoring capability using satellite data can identify where and how the recurrent frequency of floods and drought are going to emerge. And then we need to have a quick decision support tool rather than spending too much time around the grid analysis or the spatial understanding, and it needs to be in reference to historical drought. So that's where the decision tools are quite important to understand the vulnerability, its exposure level. So you know that whom you need to target and how far it takes to provide preventive measures going forward. So that brings to my preventive measure is basically an anticipatory action framework, which is quite common around the world, and it's getting quite significantly, recognizing the importance of being proactive responses compared to the traditional responses. If you look at from this figure, what you show is that significant exposures we see, and there is a, not only in livelihood, but also in terms of protection cover to the community, and the exposures are year on year by basis are increasing over the period due to climate change and its impact. And how does anticipatory action can provide not only support to the communities directly, but also helping reducing the fiscal deficit at the national level or at the local level. So we would like to present the knowledge product called Aware, which is basically bringing the interconnectedness of early warning, early action, and early finance. Because why this Aware platform is critical is that no set of disaster risk can be looked at in isolation. And we need to make sure from planning and operation and also pre-arranging finance have to be interconnectedness based on the warning provided by the meteorological department. Not just the warning, but also translating hazard into a risk information. So you know then the whom to target in terms of their vulnerability level. So once these informations are put together in a single stack, this collectively brings a better disaster risk governance. And unlike purely a standalone early warning, would not cater all the needs to the rest of the institutions, whether it is a humanitarian organization or for that matter, the local government itself. Now we have this tool which brings together a integrated thinking around early warning, early action, and early finance. So we are not going to go more detail again, as I said, due to limited time. We want to hear more from our stakeholders, and you can take a look at some point and feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to provide more clarification on that. But a quick snapshot to that is it provides the holistic information of knowing where and how the severity of the droughts are or the floods are there. You can take a look in terms of the forecast indicators or the monitoring indicators, which is you can see during the El Nino what has happened, a completely large scale dry spell reported for the across the country. And this is for the first time in countries like Zambia, the districts that are not drought prone are also declared drought. That shows the scale of the or the magnitude of the climate impact that's happened in a country like Zambia. So we have to summarize very simple information so that rest of the institution, not necessarily a technical institution, will be there in the last mile connectivity, but this is where the rest of the institutions like extension department, rural development, local government, the agrarian service centers, all that have to know a simple information by classifying should I need to take an action or not. And that's where we come with this kind of a alert dashboard, which provides a very simple and classified information based on historical reference to the trigger values. And you can see more about that. I just want to get to this particular piece of information. Once a set of early warning informations are predefined by the relevant national institution, and then comes is a early action module. So here we prepare the preparedness phase, readiness phase, and active phase. It is to ensure that the community are not only prepared, but also the rest of the institutions can make it more timely and actionable, in terms of the necessary plans that need to be activated. So we delve into more community consultation process and discuss with the communities to ensure that what you are supposed to do along with the rest of the institution. So these plans are digitalized and prepared for various sector, whether it is a wash sector, whether it is a food security sector, whether it is related to capacity building, etc. And these plans have gone into a set of community risk consultation, doing a focus group discussion, and also interviewing a lot of institutions to make sure that the plan is more inclusive rather than a top-down approach. So it brings a more polycentric governance process to ensure that we look at more in a top down rather than I mean to say that more of a bottom up approach rather than a top down approach here, specifically on this particular early action plan. And then comes is the once these plans have been set for a group of communities, you identify the set of resources that is needed on different sector, and then these plans can be downloaded and shared to different humanitarian organization who would also reach out to various international donors to mobilize funds during the time of not just during the crisis, but ensuring these plans are better prepared and they are made available quickly during the time of shock. So these are more details about that. And then I would just want to highlight the two example which my colleagues will be speaking more about in the panel. So once you have the early warning local action, I mean the anticipatory action, then comes is a tangible, set of interventions we need to look at. So we have come up with a locally led adaptation where you would see two examples, one coming from Zambia, the southern part of the country, where it's also severely affected. And what we have looked at is this particular community where we installed a solar borehole. And that was one of the key requirement of the community itself based on a participatory governance procedure. And then we have ensured that these installation have been made timely available. And this was well proved during the periods like El Nino. And what you see is some of the pictures where communities have been utilizing these services and making sure that they, are driving home garden or providing access to livestock, etc., which you can learn more about from our website about this detail. The second intervention in Sri Lanka is the canal restoration. Often what happens, we provide good early warning, but it does not mean that the communities are empowered because the local resilience infrastructure is equally important. What you see is a picture here in this is a canal that is not, cleaned, maintained over a period of time due to debris, desiltation, and all those challenges were there. And even a small magnitude of extreme rain would bring the communities into challenges of flooding, mudslides into the household, and then even if they are put in flood shelter, when they return back, their houses are completely affected or damaged. So we have looked at how, again, same principles of local action can be applied here, and we have revamped, the entire canal. What you see here is a new width of the canal that is made available for the community, unlike the one which is what you see on the left side of the system. So I just want to summarize by saying that while you see these three pieces of evidence, and with the magnitude of future risk coming from climate event, we need to connect the dots of having technological information, people-centric participatory action plan, and also making sure there is a local action that is reached out. These are locally empowered, locally governed, and locally owned. So to make sure that the communities are highly protected and proofed from the climate shock. And we do know that by showing an $1 investment in such efforts, we do know that it can provide 3 to 4 times the impact more in terms of the livelihood resilience and the way the community can speedily recover from the shock. Lastly, I would say these tiny examples, what we presented for Zambia or for Sri Lanka, would certainly, bring the framework much more. When we invest in early warning, we need to ensure that the last mile connectivity need to be ensured going forward. So thank you again. This is the last part of my segment, and feel free to use your chat box to ask questions for me and to any other experts in the online. And before I pass it on to Dr. Daniel, is there any specific question I should respond in the chat box? Or I could take it up while you are going to moderate the session. Is that sounds good?
Sounds good. There is no question so far.
Yeah. So I would pass it on to you, Dr. Daniel, to lead the session to be moderated by you. Over to you now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Giriraj. This was very, very rich presentation. You have been telling us of the need for a proactive action on drought, the early warning, early action, early finance. I think this interconnectedness, but bringing this community from the start, community participation. Participation is ownership. So I think this is timely so that we try to work on a people-centric, locally owned, locally organized. And I think whatever we do, we need to really involve the community from the start. So today I'm very pleased to be here with you to moderate this session. My name is Daniel Segai. I'm a program officer at the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. And we are in a very good moment to discuss about these issues because the UNCCD parties are going to be coming together in Saudi Arabia to discuss these issues in Riyadh in December. So now I have very prominent speakers in the panel. I'm going to give them some questions. Please be brief. First, introduce yourself and your organization. Wina from the Red Cross. Let me ask you this. Beyond the definitions, beyond what we have heard, how can we practically measure and enhance community resilience in the face of climate shocks, particularly in vulnerable regions? Thank you, Wina.
Thank you so much for that question and for the detailed presentation that has been made earlier. So indeed, vulnerability is something that is worth community resilience. I think it's something that is really a critical component of anticipatory actions, as well as if we want to ensure that we deal with humanitarian issues. So as we are all aware that we are experiencing an increase in the climatic shocks in terms of magnitude, frequency, and so on, especially those that are climate related, as well as those that are associated. Issues to do with vulnerabilities is on the high, capacities are reducing, exposure is on the increase. And for us to talk about resilience, what quickly comes into our mind is issues around anticipation, so that communities are able to anticipate, they are able to cope up, they are able to withstand, they are able to adapt. So if we are to ensure that communities are able to adapt as well as quickly recover from various issues which they do experience. Sorry for that. Yes, so for us to talk about resilience, those are the key elements that should quickly come into our mind. For us to support communities to be able to adapt, it means that we have to ensure that we understand exactly what they are passing through. So within the Red Cross movement, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Wina from Zambia Red Cross. I just went straight into answering the question. So within the Red Cross movement, there's we do use 11 dimensions of resilience. So we do use a tool which is called enhanced vulnerability and capacity assessment. So for us to be able to understand the resiliency, we use the 11 dimensions of resilience, of which we are saying that a resilient community, for example, should have the ability or the capacity to deal with water and sanitation related issues, shelter, food and nutrition, economic. They should have economic opportunities, natural resources that should be that should allow them to thrive, as well as the infrastructure and services, as well as the risk management. So those are basically things around the enhanced vulnerability and capacity assessment. So like the presenter has said, the issue to do with the anticipation is key. So it really builds into the whole sphere of ensuring that community members are able to anticipate, they are able to quickly take measures, and the impact is minimized. And in terms of resilience, it means that they'll be able to also lessen the impact of whatever that they're anticipating and quickly recover from that. So strengthening the capacities of those regions, the communities, so that they are able to do that, I think it is critical. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Wina. I think you have been telling us the importance of early anticipation, especially if communities are empowered to anticipate and act early. This is very, very important, the dynamics of bringing them up to speed so that they can also take actions, and then also the dimensions of resilience, the vulnerability assessment. I really like this assessment, the mapping of who is going to be vulnerable and why before any kind of disaster strikes. This brings them to be prepared. So thank you very much for highlighting that. Now let me go to Crispin Moyo, one of our distinguished panelists. Crispin, can you share a specific success story from this AWARE that Dr. Giriraj was presenting, where technological innovation directly translated into improved community resilience? Crispin, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. As you have rightly said, my name is Crispin Moyo. I'm Principal Agriculture Specialist from the Ministry of Agriculture here in Zambia. Yeah, so like to answer your question, first of all, I will start by describing my country. Yeah, if you look at a country like Zambia, Zambia is a drought-prone country, of which if you look at the El Nino Southern Oscillation, it's an event that normally affects, Zambia. So for instance, if you look at the 2023-2024 rainfall season, we have 84 districts that have been affected by drought in the country out of 116 districts, of which the majority of these districts are in the southern part of the country. So through AWARE, we have developed the Zambia Drought Management System. This is an online tool. So with this tool, we intend to mitigate drought risk and enable timely action to be taken by government and other relevant authorities. So this Zambia Drought Management System, currently, I would say, for instance, we are looking at drought contingence plans, at the development of drought contingence plans, of which we are targeting 2 districts in the country, that is Monze and Chongwe. So under these drought contingence plans, we are using the local stakeholders in these districts to develop these drought contingence plans. Because once these drought contingence plans are in place, we hope to have early warning systems that are going to help these districts. And also, you see, the good part is that if you use the local communities to be part of drawing these drought contingence plans, you increase the resilience of the local communities, because you find these districts, they have got the unique climatic characteristics, of which you find, like, let's say, if we were to plan at a national level, we would miss out on certain things whereby you find like the local stakeholders are the ones that know that, okay, like these are some of the intervention measures that need to be put in those plans. So I'm happy to inform you that we are developing these drought contingence plans with the help of the Indian Council on Agriculture Research. So with these plans in place under the drought management system, we hope that we are going to help the local communities in terms of building their resilience against, drought. Because under these plans, we have alternatively livelihood strategies that we are going to develop, and other strategies also that to be developed, so that at least we help to address the drought that is affecting the country. Eventually, we hope to go beyond the 2 districts that we have identified, because we identify other districts also that are drought prone, so that eventually we can build the resilience of these districts in terms of addressing the impacts of drought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Crispin. I think I really like the way you bring it together about the resilience of communities, translating the national drought plan or maybe the resilience strategy into a context-specific measure, so that countries can, especially districts, can also bring their own reality into the perspective. So these unique context-specific measures of resilience and the drought contingency plan, I wish you good luck. This is really a great measure. Zambia is one of the good champion countries when it comes to drought resilience, thanks to the measures being taken by AWARE and many other partners. So now let me go to the next panelist, Ajit Vijay Manage. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it very well, your name. How can we overcome the last mile challenge and ensure that early warning systems can effectively reach and empower marginalized communities so that they can take timely action? Just building on the previous speakers, Ajit, the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon. Actually, I am Ajit Vijay from Department of Meteorology, Director Forecasting and Decision Support. Actually, we issue our forecast normally general public as well as mass media like electronic and printed media, and also social media. We issue our forecast. Also, we issue our weather forecast and early warning to DMC, Disaster Management Center. They are the one for responsible these messages and warnings. So weather forecast sent to the grassroots level, normally general public. Actually, our duties, we prepare the forecast as well as warning, early warning, and same time we issue that forecast and early warning, mass radio, televisions, and all printed and electronics media. Then same time we send that forecast to the DMC, Disaster Management Center. They are sending those people. We know actually there are some gaps. It will not reach to that grassroots level. That is our challenge. Actually, our forecast when we issue that as well as warnings, there are some difficulties goes to the correct people and also that correct communication, the community. Then it will be sometimes problem, but you know that these forecasts, if there is a flood or some cyclone, any other that weather related hazards, at that time Triforces and also that police, they also help to send that message to the relevant people. Then they will help that time. But we need to improve that our communication system much more. That there is a World Bank project named CRESS-MPA. Under that project, actually, Department of Meteorology will be modernized, and we will have a good communication system and good facilities. Not only the Department of Meteorology, Disaster Management Center, National Building Research Organization, they are the one responsible for landslides, and also Irrigation Department, they are the responsible for flood forecasting. That all the sectors will improve, will modernize. Then maybe in future, within 2 years, we will have like a much better communication and much better early warning systems. We hope to develop and improve our capacity as well as our that is what is called that our infrastructure. Then we will be able to issue well forecast as well as warning, early warning.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That is the thing I want to say.
Thank you very much, Ajit. This importance of communicating through various channels to the marginal communities is very important. I was in a country where I don't want to mention, but these marginal communities also are the end users of such kind of early warning, were not aware of anything else simply because there was no early warning action or the information was not coming to them. So I think this importance of highlighting the communication and not knowing, but I think early warning can transfer only into early action on the ground with these end users of this early warning. So the importance of communication you have been highlighting. Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
Now I want to pass on to Nalika Priyashata. With your background on financing, what kind of innovative financing mechanisms or risk transfer tools can help probably unlock resources for anticipatory action so that we can reduce the reliance on post-disaster humanitarian aid? Nalika, the floor is yours, please.
Yes, good afternoon from Sri Lanka. I am Nalaka Priyashanta, work for the Disaster Management Division, Ministry of Defense, working as Director Planning. Thank you for the question. Accordingly, let me highlight some innovative financing products that help to provide early finance and risk transfer mechanism for the anticipatory action. First, I would like to highlight the forecast-based financing. It can be taken as one of the good tools. Forecast-based financing links finance to early warning systems. When a specific trigger threshold is met, funds are automatically released to the implement predefined anticipatory actions. As an example, the Red Cross has implemented forecast-based financing in several countries where funds are released before floods, droughts, allowing communities to prepare and mitigate the impacts. In addition to that, parametric insurance can also be identified as another good option. This insurance pays out a predefined amount when triggering event, such as a specific level of rainfall or wind speed occurs. Unlike traditional insurance, it doesn't require a proof of loss. The African Risk Capacity uses parametric insurance to provide African Union member state with timely resources to respond disasters. Further, I would like to highlight another one option, that is the sovereign risk pool. Also can be highlighted as a critical product that help humanitarian actors. It works such as countries pool resources to ensure themselves against disasters. If one country is in the pool, it is hit by the disaster, the pool funds are used to support the country. The Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility is a multi-country risk pool that provides government with quick finance liquidity after a disaster. Then, furthermore, I would like to highlight another good tools. What it is climate risk insurance. This insurance covers the financial risk associated with the climate-related disasters. Also, it can be offered at a micro, individual level or macro government level. As an example, Ensure Resilience Global Partnership aims to increase the availability and affordability of insurance against climate risk in vulnerable countries. Moreover, I would like to highlight contingent credit lines also play a significant role as an innovative financial product. These are pre-arranged credit facility that a country can draw quick in an event of a disaster. They provide immediate liquidity, allowing for rapid response for disasters. As an example, the World Bank CADDTO, it is a contingent credit line that provides funding following a natural disasters. Furthermore, the blended finance is one of the good options. That this approach combines public and private financing to leverage large amount of capital for risk reducing and anticipatory action. Public funds can be used to reduce the risk to private investors, encouraging more investment in resilience projects. It can attract private sectors to invest into areas that traditionally rely on humanitarian needs. Last but not least, the crowdfunding is one of a trending tool we can identify as another good tool for the new financial mechanism. The crowdfunding platform can be used to raise funds for anticipatory actions, while crowdfunding can be gather real-time data for the informed decisions. As an example, platforms like Global Giving have been used to fund disaster preparedness and early warning projects. With these tools and mechanisms, enable proactive risk management, ensuring that communities are better prepared for disasters, thereby reducing the need for emergency of humanitarian aids. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nalaka. I think he gave us a lot of tools, starting from forecast-based financing, which is a topic of the day or at least the topic of the season, I would say, because we are trying to really look into many drought financing mechanisms, innovative parametric financing, climate risk insurance, blended financing. These are really things that have to be elevated, to be discussed at length, and we need financing anyway. When we go to countries, that's the bottleneck on what to do next, and so we need to be innovative. Thank you very much for highlighting this. Now, I think we are almost through with the first round. Let me first ask Carol Muwiba from the Institute in Zambia, how can we shift power dynamics in adaptation planning so that we can ensure local communities to have a genuine voice in decision-making and also implementation? Carol, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for this question. My name is Carol Muwiba. I consult with International Water Management Institute, and I'm happy to share. Really, we all know that people who face the impacts of climate change or the challenges are related to climate change understand the challenges they face, and therefore they can be in a position to offer solutions that are best suited to them. So as opposed to coming up with external solutions, we have highlighted in our study how participatory planning, for example, adapted to climate change, gives power to the communities. The study that Dr. Giriraj was talking about in terms of the borehole, we had a process where we were looking at 6 steps, all involving communities, starting from initiating conversations, bringing communities to diagnose their solutions, to also even to diagnose the challenges, to talk about the challenges they face as a result of not having water, but also coming up with solutions that are best suited for them. And for that community in Monze, it was really about having a water source that was going to provide adequate water for drinking, livestock watering, and also gardening. And these are things that we need to learn from communities. So as opposed to coming up with solutions that we as developers think is best for the community, it is better to allow to create platforms for genuine participatory planning processes where communities are involved from the beginning of the adaptation planning processes. And also we ensure that that kind of dialogue is maintained throughout. Yeah, and I also want to add that sometimes it is easy to hear voices from those that are most vocal, but moderating conversations to encourage all that are present to participate is very key. So there should be diverse representation from women groups, men, and young people, including the marginalized and vulnerable groups within the communities. And all these should be given a platform to be heard, and their views should be respected. And also, these views should be incorporated in the outcomes of the adaptation planning processes that we end up coming up with. So I also want to add that in the beginning, when you are engaging communities and providing a platform for participatory planning, there is need for providing adequate information so that they know what they are dealing with. I know a number of speakers that have come before me have spoken about this, including Mr. Winner. But what I want to reiterate is that during the planning process and implementation phases, it is important to provide clear information about the plans, the processes, and the expected outcomes to local communities to give them an opportunity to know what they are working with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. This is very, very strong message. Also trying to learn from the communities instead of coming up with a solution, not only listening to the vocal. I think this is very deep when it comes to participation instead of talking about creating a platform for those who are even within the community also marginalized, the women, the young. So I think this is really deep, and it comes from a very deep on the ground experience of your work. Thank you very much for bringing this up. Now I think we are done with the first round, and instead of going for the second round, there are some very interesting questions coming from the audience, and many of them are just targeted at Dr. Giriraj, but some of you can also tap into that. So first, let me ask this question where it says, where is it? Forecast data comes from NOAA and wherever national meteorology can support in integrating, is it not possible? No, let me ask, could you please clarify, Dr. Giriraj, the resolution or the scalar focus of AWARE and its potential for urban flood risk management at a mesoscale, spatial scales?
Yeah.
So the context is we are currently rolling out, he is saying, Cyan on National Urban Flood Risk Management Program for India. So I think you have already read the question. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Daniel, and also moderating the session going very well. I just want to reflect to a question from Roy. So specifically on the resolution and the the focus of that, it is basically the AWARE platform is largely depend on publicly available data sets. So forecast data generally are coming up with reputed institutions like NOAA, ECMWF, and wherever the the meteorological agencies supply, we could able to integrate it within the AWARE platform. So we are in that process of integrating seamlessly various knowledge products. Now, question of urban flood risk management, this is where if you go much more detail on the flood module, we have APIs opened up for point level source point of the rivers, where you could see a discharge and the flood return periods at different scale in time. So whether it is for the next 3 weeks, whether there is a return period of 25 years of return period, or you can look at more in terms of the dashboard that talks about specific, the village level flooding that's likely to happen. So at this point, the platform offers whatever the data sets are coming from different third-party data sources. And important is that not as a whole national flood forecasting tools are available. So there is a long way to go when we talk about the scale and also at the finer details of the product. But I do believe that the action what we are trying to do is to make sure that the warning information that is going to be produced or generated by the national institution can be mainstream within the whole interconnectedness of the early warning to early action. So that's a whole perspective we are trying to bring. And the second aspect is to make sure when we talk about risk governance, there are a set of value chain partners have to take a lot, the leading role from technical institutions to the extension or to the humanitarian organization. You don't see that kind of a knowledge product where everybody is sitting together and making a timely decision. So I would stop here, but happy to clarify additional questions if any. Muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. I'm just going to pass on to the question that refers to all panels. But before that, there is one question that refers to you. Does your system include, from Stefan Grammel in KFW, Giriraj, does your system include systems which give the population an information of intense floods from rivers, from intense rains? So
Yes.
did you already have experience with such case of warning of the population? How did it work?
Yeah, thank you. Very briefly, I would say that we have this module called rapid response. It won't be within the early warning module. What we try to do is if there is a 5 days of intense rainfall, you could look at the background in terms of the GDP, population exposure, and the crop damages that are going to happen. It provides a quick dashboard of where likely this flood has happened or the extreme rainfall. You can look at how much people are going to be affected on that. We do have an app called Vetin, which is not opened up for in general public, but that particular app also brings a lot of community level, water level sensors, which are collected for countries like Nigeria we are working. So then citizen science we talked about, all those data are fed from the community institution. Plus, it also provides a danger level coming from the global flood awareness system. So we do have those tools, but it's not available as a general user because most of this designation comes with the limitation of sharing this, of warning the public. This is not the focus of CGR. This is where the national institutions like disaster management would work directly with those parties in the subnational level. So if you are interested, do drop an email. We'll be happy to provide those insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Giriraj. Now there is a very interesting question from Yundo to everyone. It's about early warning system. It is critical in disaster risk reduction. However, in many countries, some groups are left behind when developing this system. That is people with disabilities. How blind people can see the warning, how the deaf can hear the announcement. So my question is that, do you have any strategy or mechanism to put disability inclusion in DRR, especially early warning system? So this addresses to all the panelists, but I think Ajit was highlighting the communication through radio, TV, and many other channels. So let me first give the floor to Ajit, and then, of course, all the panelists can also chime in. Ajit, would you like to be the first one to respond to this?
Yes, actually, we have satellite data as well as satellite images, as well as we use GIS and NWP use for the downscaled data. Then because we are having 23 meteorological stations in all over the country, and also there are 38 hydrometeorological stations. That's actually not enough to cover the whole country. Then we need numerical weather prediction for that downscale the global forecast, such as GFS data we use, as well as ECMWF data. We downscale and we prepare the forecast for the general public, and as well as for the early warning. When we prepare that, we use that model. Actually, based on the numerical weather predictions model, that forecast, we issue forecast like all over the country, but by that provincial level as well as district level. But we need like city-wise, then we use numerical weather prediction for 10 days forecast we issue. Then if there is a heavy rain or some weather-related disaster hazards, we issue early warnings. Normally, we issue that rainfall like above 100 millimeter like this by that value. Then that people can aware. Then if there is a warning, our warning, they know which area will be flooded or which area will be affected. Those kind of actually mechanism we only use satellite data and also that numerical weather prediction model data for leading centers like other regional centers data also we use. And also we prepare that our forecast using our experience, forecasters experience as well as statistical guidance also we use. Then those forecasts actually we need to that like actually we are not using AI, artificial intelligence, as well as we don't have any Doppler radar. Then I think JICA will planning to donate us one Doppler radar, but we have requested 2 Doppler radar. In future, we will have at least 1 radar from JICA. And under the SMPA project, our department weather forecasting system and everything will be modernized and improved. Then we will be able to improve our forecast as well as improve that communication system. At that time, actually, we can fulfill our some gaps, but we need to restart some stations because 23 meteorological stations is not enough for the country Sri Lanka. Then we are planning to have like more than 30 stations as well as nearly 500 automatic rain gauge stations. Because currently we are having 130 rain gauge stations. Those are confined to our southwest part of Sri Lanka. That 5 river basins, we install that those automatic rain gauges. Those other rain gauges are only, we have manual rain gauges. Those data we are not receiving same time.
We can
rain gauge data we received like yes.
Yeah, can you probably finish it? Because the question is about for the how we can support the blind, the deaf, so that they communicate early. And
maybe Carol can also respond to that. Carol from Zambia can respond briefly, looking from the gender inclusion point of view. Over to you.
Thank you, Giriraj, and thank you so much for that question. From what we see in the field, I think it's very important, definitely, to include people that are marginalized. In my earlier comment, I talked a little bit about how inclusion can actually help. So when we're talking about early warning, there are systems that can be put in place, even when you're providing information. There are things that you can actually make available. I have not worked directly with systems that relate to early warning, but I work directly with communities, and they can advise what do they need at community level. Are they participating in Braille courses where they can be provided information in Braille if they are blind, and they can be in a position to understand what is being provided. So first of all, aside from talking to communities about what they need or how they can access or how they are using this information, other information that is provided to them, it's also important to understand from the technological point of view what would work in terms to provide that information. So what I can say, really first you consult with communities and understand what their needs are. And also, as we are providing this early warning, we should also be aware that there are diverse people that can be consulted in terms of experts that work with the blind, that work with the deaf, and the kind of resources that they use to reach out to those people. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Carol, for highlighting this specific question, maybe the need for more technology expertise. This is a very interesting question when it comes to inclusion. We talk about early warning, early action in general, but there are also those who have to be included. So I think we are almost in time, but I just wanted to give every one of you maybe 30 seconds if you have any key message that you want to bring to the audience. 30 seconds sharp. I will start with you, Carol, while you are still on the screen. One key message, 30 seconds that resonates with every one of us, and then everyone, any speaker.
Only 4 minutes left.
Yes, 30 seconds, I said. Don't worry, we'll make it.
Okay, so one of the things that I would really encourage, especially scientists, engineers, and all that, is that there should be an opportunity to really engage. I have been excited quite a lot in working with the communities and just to understand what their needs are. These people know exactly what affects them, and they would be in a very good position to communicate with us about their specific needs. So I would encourage the group, this team, to engage all the time, to talk to communities and get what is needed from there to make better solutions for people that we are trying to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I just want to give another maybe 30 seconds to any of
Yes, Crispin Moyo from Zambia, yes. The only thing that I want to say is like climate change is real. And for countries like Zambia, we have seen this through the high frequency of droughts that we are now experiencing. So we really need to embrace tools like the Zambia drought management system, which can be used to address or to mitigate the impacts of drought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Crispin. Anyone else before I finish? Okay, let me just probably highlight. This was very, very interesting session, more than what I expected in this early morning hour. And I think there were a lot of words that resonate with me. Engage. Let's engage the communities. There was one very good speaker who was speaking, nothing for us without us. So I think it's very important that we include the locals. This was also the panelists that they were highlighting. And also, Crispin, you just said that climate change is real. We need to really embrace the tools. So I think it's very important, all these innovative measures that many of the speakers were also talking, even including the forecast-based financing, parametric insurance, trying to also include the highlighting the communication, because early warning turns into early action when the early warning reaches the end beneficiaries of the communication. So we really need to be very, very inclusive, trying to be very comprehensive, and we need to engage the communities locally. So that's where the speakers were also highlighting, trying to really engage not only those who are vocal, those who can speak, but those who have no say, trying to really dig deep and talk to them. So we create the platform for everyone. So thank you very much, distinguished panelists. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to moderate this session. I learned a lot, and definitely this learning process will continue. In the name of the World Water Week, thank you very much and have a good day.